Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are around the world, and a huge welcome to today's Postgrad Insights. Today, the theme will be focused around Chevening, brought to you by the University of Kent, who I'll be introducing you to in just a moment's time. Now, before we start, this is an extremely popular session, not just on Zoom that you guys have signed up to, but also on social media on Facebook and Instagram. So if anyone's got any questions, any issues, concerns, anything that will relate to the Q&A at the end of this webinar, please put your questions in the chat facility or the Q&A, and we'll endeavour to answer your question as much as possible. In the scenario we don't get back to you, please don't worry, we will reach out to you after the session. We'll try and make sure that your question is answered as best as possible, whether it's aimed at postgrad.com or whether it is aimed at Kent. So just a brief insight into what today will bring. So we're going to have a presentation from the University of Kent. We've got international representatives from the university, which is fantastic. We'll talk about postgrad.com and an opportunity for you to win a £500 bursary on top of any kind of funding or scholarship you look to apply for. But without hanging around too much longer, I'd like to hand you over to Charlie and Diane, who are representatives at the University of Kent. They're going to be looking after you for the next 20 to 30 minutes, and I will be back for the Q&A at the end. See you soon.
So my name's Diane Weston. I'm Senior International Officer at the University of Kent, and I'm joined today by our International Officer who is responsible for Africa, Charlie Greenwood. Now, what we're going to do is have a presentation which hopefully will last about 15 minutes or so, so hopefully you don't get too bored, and then we will leave lots of time for to be able to answer any questions you may have. So without any further ado, I'm going to launch straight into it. So what we'll be looking at today are things around what to think about when you're choosing where to study in the UK, what you need to prepare for your application, a bit about what is a personal statement and how to structure it, and a few hints and tips about what not to do and what to do to make a good personal statement, and then a little bit about the University of Kent. So to make an application to a university in the UK for postgraduate study, it is quite a straightforward process, but you need to make sure that you're applying obviously for the right course, for the right university, and in the right location. Now, this sounds very straightforward, and I'm sure you've all thought about these things, but you really do need to make sure that you consider these questions before you make your application. You're going to be studying for minimum a year. You want to be in the right place, doing the right thing. So we look at what we call the 4 C's. So the first one being the course. So have a little think about some questions about what type of course do I want? Can I actually get a place on the course? Have I got the right qualifications to get a place on the programme I want to study? Can I afford it? Fees and cost of living change quite a bit, so make sure that you are able to fund your programme. Think about things to do with your course. How do you like to study? What suits you? Also, some may be more exam heavy. Is that the way you like to operate, or do you prefer more assessments to be done with coursework? So have a little think about these things and do your research into the universities to make sure that they fit how you like to study and what course you want to do. So hopefully you'll find the course that you're interested in. You'll have a look at a few different universities offering that programme. but look at the content of them, because you can have the same title of a course, but there will be different content. So for example, this is the MSc Marketing at the University of Kent and the University of Sussex. I'm not saying one is good and one is bad at all. I'm just saying they are different. So you can see here the modules, the choice of modules will be slightly different. So choose the one that is of interest to you and fits exactly what you'd like to be studying. Obviously, think of the city or basically the location. Where is it? Do you want to be in a big city, or are you happier in a smaller city? Do you want to be near the sea? Do you want to be near an airport? What things are important for you? Make a note of these things to make sure that each university you're looking at ticks these boxes. And another one, do you want to be on a campus university, or do you want to be in a city university? Generally in the UK, there are two types of university, a campus or a city. A campus is where everything is all in one place. So, for example, my university, the University of Kent, is a campus university. So you can see here, everything is all in one place. Accommodation, social spaces, tuition, it's all here. All the facilities are here. It's like a little mini, well, I was going to say city, but it's not quite as big as a city. Or this is the University of Portsmouth, which is a city university, and you can see the buildings are dotted around the city. So you're kind of a lot more integrated into the city. It's not just one location. So, and again, absolutely no right or wrong. It's completely up to you and your personal preference. So you've now type of decided, okay, where am I going to apply to? Yeah, I think I'll get in here. This suits what I want to do. You need to make your application. So usually you can do an online application form direct to the university. If you've studied at undergraduate level in the UK, you have to go through UCAS. Not the case for postgraduate study. You apply direct to the university online. And with your academic qualifications, now most of you, if you're interested in Chevening, you will have already graduated. So you should have all of your documents and certificates so that you can include those in your application. We also need your English language qualifications if these are available. And a reference. Again, different universities may want one reference or two references, but they should always be from an academic. So somewhere where you studied your bachelor's degree, ideally, an academic in that institution, and it should be an official email address. It's no good to get a referee to send something using, I don't know, Hotmail account or something. It has to be from an official email address or a hard copy on a letterhead. And you need to write your personal statement. Basically, your personal statement is unique to you and should be tailored to the course that you're applying to. We don't generally interview for places. Sometimes you may be asked to an interview, but your personal statement really is your interview. So it's your opportunity to show off your academic interests, abilities, and to show that you will benefit from the programme, but also the programme will benefit from your attendance. What can you bring to the programme? So these are a few things that admissions people are generally looking for in your personal statement. So an explanation how the course that you want to study will link your past studies and what you want to do in the future. An insight into your abilities and how they fit with the course. Enthusiasm is very important in your personal statement. Your commitment and your enthusiasm. You've got to show you know, a real interest in what you're going to be studying. And you know, a little bit of showing that you've done research into that institution and that program, and how you are committed to doing that, and why you want to get to study specifically at that institution, and obviously your demonstrable interest in the subject. So basically it should be structured using kind of a very straightforward kind of structure. You want an introduction to capture the attention, and then the main points. So that's where you evidence your knowledge and demonstrate why the course is right for you, and then a closing paragraph and ending it on a positive note. A few things what not to do. Don't be negative in your personal statement. Don't use an online template. This is your personal statement. The clue's in the title. So you know, as I say, you can follow a structure, but it has to come really from you. Don't include irrelevant things in there. You know, if you're wanting to study, I don't know, international development, don't go on about courses that you've done in literature, because it's not terribly relevant. Yeah, don't tell fibs or exaggerate. Using inspirational quotes sometimes is a little bit of a risk, because admissions tutors see many of them. I think lots of admissions people will say that they have read the phrase, as Gandhi once said. They might have seen that many times. So steer clear away from these inspirational or cliched comments and quotes. Don't just name drop. Don't just put things in if it's not relevant. It's not showing off, oh, I've heard of Wittgenstein. It's got to have a reason. Don't construct overly long sentences. Don't think that you can flatter the organisation into giving you a place. You don't have to go through all the marks that you got in your degree, because that is somewhere else in your application. As I say, don't use the UCAS template and don't waffle. And the last thing, don't leave writing your personal statement to the last minute. It does take a little bit of time to construct a good one. So same kind of thing, give yourself plenty of time, do a lot of research, be positive, tailor your statement for the different courses and different institutions, and draft and redraft your statement. Show it to your friends, show it to other people, to make sure that it's reading well, and make changes to it as needed. It should be about one side of A4, but institutions may require different personal statements, so check with them. 5 or 6 clear paragraphs. Use, a standard font. Don't go off-piste and do something in bright red, big, bold things. Just do standard text. And sometimes people ask if they should mention any bad grades. Well, hopefully you haven't got bad grades, but if there is anything that needs explaining, do explain it in your personal statement. Now, just a very quick overview of the University of Kent. So, as I said before, you need to find the institution that fits what you are looking for. So all I can do really is tell you about what we offer and see if that fits with the kind of thing you're looking for. So in terms of location, we are, our main campus is in Canterbury, which is just less than 1 hour by train from London. We also have a second campus in the UK in a place called Medway. We also have specialist postgraduate centres in Brussels and in Paris. The location around Canterbury is very beautiful. Here are a few images just to show it's not a huge big city. It is called a city, but it's not huge. It's very old and very beautiful, but with lots of modern facilities. The things that you can study, I'm not going to go into these, otherwise we'll be here all day, but we're divided into 6 divisions covering a huge wide range of subjects. The normal ones: business, engineering, maths, actuarial science, biosciences, physical sciences. Law is a very big point of Kent. We're very well known for our law programs. Anthropology, social economics, again, we're very well known for international relations, and a lot of those programs are in our Brussels campus. And then we do psychology, quite a few programs to do with architecture, and other humanities programs. So other things that we can offer, obviously, like most universities, we have accommodation which is just where you have a single room with ensuite bathroom facilities. We can offer you a great sports and social life. There's loads of things for you to get involved in, lots of clubs and societies, whether it's sport or something more interest or cultural, lots of things for you to do while you're studying. And we have excellent support and wellbeing services. So if you need to tap into any of these services, they are readily available. All you have to do is ask. And a big thing in the university is careers and employability. So all of these, we want to train you to be successful in your future careers. So they're very practical programs. You will be learning things that will be very useful for you in any future career that you may have. And you'll be joining a fantastic community. I've worked at different universities in the UK, and I must say at the University of Kent there's a real sense of community. All the lecturers, the academics, they're all very approachable. Students all support each other. It is a fantastic community at Kent. Just a few things. Again, I'm not going to go into them, but you might want to have a look on our website. There's plenty of information about the courses and everything there. But then here are a few of our Chevening Scholars. who have written about their experience at the university. So here's one who's written a blog from South Sudan, and Labani, who's from Botswana. And then last year, we had a student who was successful getting Chevening just as the Taliban had taken over in Afghanistan, and we managed to get him, and he's now studying multimedia journalism and working for the Guardian newspaper. So there's lots of stories on our website from former and current Chevening Scholars. So I'm sure that's more than enough from me. I would now like to invite Charlie to come and join us, and any questions we're more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Diane. Very good, very insightful. I'm sure everybody watching will agree that it's a great insight into Kent and the campuses you've got. So thank you very much for that. And a huge apologies to anyone that had any interference during that presentation as well. There was a couple of occasions just where I went a little bit rustly, so many apologies. At this stage, a huge welcome to our podcast listeners as well. You are joined today by the University of Kent, Diane and Charlie. We're just going to engage in a live Q&A with some questions that have come firing in before the session and some questions that have been asked throughout the presentation earlier. Charlie, Diane, thanks for your time today. So to begin with, I just want to talk about Kent as a whole. Diane mentioned it earlier on in the presentation about how she's been to many different universities, how it's not quite a massive city, so it's more kind of close and a close connection kind of university. Can you tell me, are there a strong contingent of international students in the local area, and how close is it to local major cities? If they did, let's say, have a crazy life and they wanted to go into London and other major cities and have good nightlife and stuff like that. Charlie, if I can leave that one to you.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. And that's a really useful question, I think, because a really important part of choosing where you want to study is, are you actually going to enjoy your time there? You're going to be spending a year at the university, so making sure it's somewhere that suits you is so important. I think that we're really lucky with where we're based and our campus locations, because you get an amazing balance of different positives with those two campuses. Now, both of those are less than an hour by public transport from the big lights of London. So if you do decide that you want to go to visit London, just to be a tourist, perhaps there are opportunities. Chevening run all sorts of different things throughout the year as well. If you are a Chevening scholar, it's very, very easy to get there. The cost is not too high either. You can get very cheap public transport in the UK to get around nice and easily. In terms of community, we've got a lot of international students at Kent. And as we've actually got 3 universities in Canterbury, which is the main city that our biggest campus is located in, we are just really well set up for students. There are lots of things set up with students in mind. There are always different kinds of events and different things going on that you can get involved with.
Excellent. And I want to point out as well that the geographical location of not just your Canterbury campus, but your Medway one as well, that Diane mentioned earlier. If you're not familiar with the UK and the different locations, we're based down in the southwest here at Postgrad, and it's probably easier and quicker for a student to get from France to Medway than it is from where we are to Medway or even to Canterbury. So it's in a really good location. And again, I want to talk about from an international student perspective, how easy is it to get to the university, because it can be quite an anxious time for a student, an international student. It's a big moment in their life to come from another country to the UK. How easy is it to get to the uni? How simple is it when you arrive at the uni, and how welcome do you feel by other students?
I think another great point, and that's something that we put a lot of work into as well. It's making sure that we are welcoming all of our new students, not just to the university, but to the country as well, because I know for many of our new students, especially our scholarship students, they've not travelled to the UK before, and oftentimes they've not travelled outside of their own country, sometimes even their own region. So it's a big step, and we want to make sure that we do everything we possibly can as an institution to help make that big step just as easy to make as it really can be. So we offer lots and lots of information. We run different sessions. We're running webinars at the moment, for example, for our students who are going to be starting with us in September, to give them lots of information about what they need to do ahead of arrival, what to expect, what different options there are to get to the campus. So because we're quite centrally located and not too far from London, it's very easy getting here internationally. So you've got a choice of airports that you can come into. You don't need to stress too much about which one you choose. There are plenty of public transport options, but also in September for our students starting with us, we do offer a service where we come to the airports and we have a meet and greet service, bring students to the campus, just to ease that process as much as possible. You can book through that. We'll email all of our students about it in advance, mention it in the webinars as well, just to make that process really as easy as it can be. Getting through the airports isn't too difficult. Sometimes it can take a little bit of time, so we'll be there waiting for you. We know it can take a little while when it's busy, when all our students are starting, but we are set up for that. I think one of the things that I found about Kent when I started here as a member of staff is the welcoming environment. There are lots of different things that we do throughout the first week, and in fact the first term, to help you get settled into the university. Make sure that you're comfortable in the new area, make sure you know where everything is, what you might need to do, where you need to get registered at the doctors, for example, which is on our campus, so that's nice and easy, but just get you settled in. So even after getting you from the airport, it's getting you settled into everything else and ready for your studies, really.
And I want to elaborate a little bit further on that point as well, because I think that it was a nice touch that Kent did. I know a lot of universities went above and beyond during the elephant in the room, COVID, and the pandemic and everything else. But how easy did it make that process, given the fact that you were already offering the personalized, we pick you up from the airport, we help you feel more welcome, we take you to your accommodation, we make you feel welcomed at that, student accommodation, and that first week make you blend in and make you feel a little bit more welcome. Was that something you did over COVID, and was that something that really helped your students?
It was, and that's something that we knew from the get-go when things became clear about, students unfortunately having to isolate when they arrived in the UK and things like that. We knew that we had to make sure that that experience wasn't overwhelming. So we put in place as quickly as we possibly could a lot of different measures to make sure that students still received a welcome, that they weren't just coming straight to the UK and not knowing what was going on, even though they knew it would be different to perhaps an experience in another year. We had an amazing team of student volunteers from the university and also staff, especially kind of catering staff and accommodation staff, making sure that even though students were coming in and having to spend some time alone in their rooms, they always had someone they could pick up the phone and talk to if they wanted to. They were able to get things delivered to them. They could ask for food deliveries. If they'd ordered some things off the internet, they'd get them brought to their room for them. So they weren't alone. They had a network right from the get-go, and that was so important. And what we did as well was make sure that all of the different welcome events that we run, all of the information sessions we run, usually in person where you get to go and meet people, we moved those to online. And actually we learned an awful lot from that. And I think now with the sessions that we do, we run a lot of those sessions online as well as in person, because it just means that more people can get involved in more sessions, have more opportunities to network and to start building their own community once they get to university.
And I just want to ask one more question about Kent as a whole before we move on up to the more scholarship chevening side of stuff, which is the theme today, is about affordability and accommodation. Diane mentioned earlier on in her presentation about the accommodation which can be on campus and so on from there. Does the fact that you're not in a major city, does the fact that you're not quite in London, you're just on the outskirts, make it a lot more affordable for students? Therefore, meaning in a world where everyone is struggling a little bit more than what they were, just that bit more helpful?
Yes, it really does, Gareth. And that's a good point, worth making probably more than once, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I know some people think, oh, well, gosh, if you're really close to London, does that mean I'm paying London prices for things because I've heard it's an expensive city to live in. But thankfully, no, that is not the case. Once you get out of London, Kent is in a separate region. Kent is its own region, in fact, and Canterbury and our Medway campus are both based actually physically outside of London. The cost of living is much cheaper. They're both relatively small urban areas, so you don't have to spend lots of money and lots of time travelling. You'd be amazed how small and easy to get around a city in the UK can be if you've grown up in a big city elsewhere. It's very, very quick and easy to get around. In terms of the cost of accommodation, again, there are some very, very cheap options available, both on the campus and off the campus. They're convenient, everything's there for you, especially if you choose to live on the campus. All of your bills are included in your campus accommodation, so you're not having to spend separately on electricity or on Wi-Fi internet. Even your gym membership in your first year is included, so staying healthy as well, that's taken care of, and it just makes it much easier to budget, knowing that those costs are taken care of. You've already been able to factor them into your expenditure. Just makes life that bit easier when you're working out exactly what you need before you start on this journey.
Fantastic. I just want to touch upon the course specific questions we've had as well. One of the questions relates to the courses that they take. So, and I thought it was a really good question actually, because Diane mentioned earlier about the courses that you guys have got, not just in Medway and Canterbury, but also in Paris and Brussels as well. So can a student choose what campus they study at, or does where they end up, is it dictated to by the course they study? Diane, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, okay. Yes, it is basically dictated by what course you want to study. So our campuses in Brussels and Paris are specialist postgraduate centres. So they are only for masters and PhD students. In Brussels, the focus, it's called the Brussels School of International Studies. So the focus is on the kind of international relations, international politics, law, those kind of issues. And they're based there because the content, the actual programs are very linked to the nature of the city, really. So in Brussels, obviously, there's a lot of organisations there. There's lots of opportunities for networking and internships within NGOs, within these international organisations based in Brussels. In Paris, Paris is a lot more arts and culture kind of based. There are a relatively small number of programs offered there. Some to do with architecture, some to do with art, history, and literature kind of programs at postgraduate level. So it does really depend what course you're studying, and that is held in a certain location. Most of them, as I say, are at our main campus in Canterbury. There are some where you can do a split between Paris and Canterbury. So half the year in Paris, half in Canterbury. Well, it's not quite half, but there is a bit of a split.
Okay, and to just wrap things up as well, I want to talk about the theme today, Chevening, and how long typically a student can expect to have to wait for their either acceptance or their rejection letter, or verbal, whatever it might be. Can you give our students that are listening and watching an idea in terms of what kind of process that is, how long it takes, the sometimes tedious waiting time it can take? Sometimes it's out of your hands, sometimes it is in your hand. What can a student expect?
Again, at Kent, I think our admissions process is, I don't want to promise this, but it is comparatively quick. The main thing I would say is if we have got everything, all of the documents needed in the application, when we receive the application, that application can usually be turned around really quite quickly. And sometimes we're even talking a matter of days, but it could be a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But that is if we're not waiting for information. If we're waiting for an academic reference, we can't make a decision until we get that. If you know, if the applicant hasn't submitted a personal statement, we have to wait until we've got that. So I would say, if you make an application, if you want to start in September, make an application as early as you can. You know, so October of the previous year would be good. Obviously we can do a conditional offer if the English language requirements, for example, if they haven't got them, then we can make a conditional offer.
And can they apply twice? Just touching upon that, because I think it's important that a lot of people, especially postgrad students, might apply, not get the scholarship or not be able to come this year. Can they then reapply next year, and does it impact?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's fine. If someone has made an application and hasn't been successful getting their scholarship, or there are other reasons why they can't actually come that year, then they can defer the place until the next year, as long as they tell us that they're not going to take the offer of the place. Then they can defer. They will just have to tell us, you know, what they've been doing for that year, you know, if anything's changed in their application, but that's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Excellent. Diane, Charlie, a huge thank you. It's been a great Q&A and a great presentation. Thank you for your earlier part, Diane, as well. For now, we'd like to say a huge thank you and bye-bye to both Charlie and Diane. Any questions that have been asked throughout the Q&A and the actual presentation itself, both the representatives here and behind the scenes as well will reach out to you. And if you've got any urgent issues, please reach out to myself. You've got all my details already from registration and so on from there. But for now, a huge thank you to you both, and we look forward to seeing you soon. So just to wrap up then, in terms of what postgrad.com offers, we've got over 10 million students that have used our website to find their perfect postgraduate program, a choice of over 200 countries for you to study at, including the UK that we just heard about, and also their Paris and Brussels campuses as well, in France and Belgium respectively. Partnerships with high caliber international scholarship providers such as the Chevening, Marshall, and much more as well. So head over to our website and look for the funding pages for that opportunity. Best advice on accommodation, visas, student accommodation, IELTS, TOEFL, everything you need to know about PG learning, please head over to there. Eligibility to win one of our £500 bursaries, which doesn't clash with any other funding that you might have. So head over to our website. Doesn't matter where you are, full-time, part-time, distance learning, studying this September, January, or next September, head over. It's free for everyone to apply. £500 will be knocked off your tuition fees if you win. At postgrad.com, hand out 15 of those throughout the year, and one dedicated to those that are watching one of these webinar sessions. So please head over for a strong chance of you to win one of those bursaries. But for now, a huge thank you to everyone at the University of Kent that has made this session happen. It's been a fantastic, engaging, communicative session. Those that have been watching on social media, we will get round to you with your questions. We won't be able to share your data with the University of Kent, hence you'll need to register individually. But for now, a huge thank you, and we look forward to seeing you for the next session in September, which is going to be our festival. Thank you, and bye-bye.